What is up? We are finally
Welcome,
here for
welcome.
the DH Impact Media Podcast. My name is Darian. I'm the host and CEO of DH Impact Media Podcast. I used to be Sports Talk with Darian, but I do a lot of different things now, from press conferences, everything of that nature. So it's just more of a media thing than everything. But I'm your host, and we here to do this podcast here with my guy, with Darian as
Yeah,
well.
it
Crazy,
it does
both our
sound a little
names is
weird. It does sound a little
no,
weird, but
both our names is Darian. He spelled his different. I spelled mine different. But he's here from First Down Focus. How you doing today, brother?
hey, first off, I appreciate you having me on the podcast today. But I'm a new podcaster. I'm getting used to this, and I'm really loving it. I'm enjoying it. Big football guy, and that's what my podcast is all about. And that's what I'm here to talk about today: football in general, NFL, college football. I mean, it's just been my life for a while, and I love it
Awesome, man. Awesome. I mean, I'm a big football fan too. I follow college football.
for sure.
Now I'm following the UFL, which is coming on next month. I
Okay.
follow that as well. So it's gonna be a lot of football talk here, but your Philadelphia Eagles. I want to get into that first. How you
For
feel about
sure.
your Eagles winning the Super Bowl and everything, knowing that we both are in Pennsylvania.
hmm
Unfortunately, I mean, I still support the Eagles, but I'm not an Eagles fan. I support the city regardless. But what was your thoughts when the Eagles, end up beating the Chiefs and being down at the parade and stuff of that nature?
Man, it was wild. The parade was absolutely insane. I mean, I got to see guys like climbing light poles and everything, and it was like so many drunk people. It was insane. But I mean, I wouldn't change it for the world. We got there super early. I think we got there at I don't know, like 6 a.m. I think we left my house
Mhm.
around like 4:30. Got there around 6, and we were camping out. It was so cold. But the Eagles, like the Super Bowl, it means so much like to me and like my family has been. We've been Eagles fans for since I was born. So I mean, it's to finally get one in 2017, 2018, and then come back and do it again after the heartbreak in 2022 and be able to do it against the Chiefs. Like everyone else wanted the Bills. I was a guy that I wanted the Chiefs back because I wanted the revenge of 2022. And I think we would have beat them on a neutral field, one that wasn't so slippery. But I mean, hey, I will take my loss like a man, but I'm so happy to be back and so happy that we won it this time. And this parade was just amazing, man. I couldn't even describe it. I can't put it into words.
As a Raiders fan, I love it. I was loving the behind whooping
For
that the
sure,
Chiefs
for
were
sure.
getting to the Philadelphia Eagles. I thought it was the most amazing thing. I was like singing the Eagles song and everything. I just wanted the Chiefs to get devoured, and that's exactly what happened there. So, congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles, man. They won the Super Bowl, and they going to they decided to go to the White House, to see
hmm
President Trump of everything of that nature. So it should be very interesting. Knowing that I know they backed out and then they decided to come back and say, okay, let's go here. But speaking of
For
Super
sure.
Bowls, let's get straight to the topic here. So I'm gonna let you do this topic because this was one of yours that when we talked about on the back end. I would love to, hear your thoughts on this, and then I could just piggyback off there.
For sure. I'm definitely a big bets guy. So I like seeing as soon as season ends, like there's odds that come out right away, right? And no matter what sports book you go to, they're pretty similar in odds. It might be, a little bit different. But for me, I always like picking a favorite, someone that's like at the top of that list that's possibly going to most likely be there again. And then I like picking a long shot. A team like the Washington Commanders, if you bet them at this time last year,
Ooh.
you were so close to winning a boatload of money because of what they did in the offseason, getting Jaden Daniels, getting some key pieces, a young team. If you pick one of those teams, then you might be sweating, getting a little bit of money towards the end of that year. But really, my favorites, obviously, I'm an Eagles guy. I have to go the Eagles. I mean, I can't pick any other team to win the Super Bowl next year. I have so many guys coming back, and I'm excited to watch them again next year. I already saw videos of, I believe it was Jalen Hurts, and I don't know if he was with anybody else, but I saw Jalen Hurts already practicing again for next season. And so for me, I got to go the Eagles. But a long shot team that I like, I don't know if you want to consider a long shot, but they didn't make the playoffs last year. I like the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati
Mhm.
Bengals are a team
Yeah.
that they had one of the best offenses last year. Like they had their quarterback was an MVP finalist in Joe Burrow. They had a triple crown winner with Jamar Chase. I mean, if you told me that Joe Burrow would lead the NFL in what passing yards and whatever else he led the NFL in, then you have a triple crown winner in Jamar Chase, like, and you told me they didn't make the playoffs, I would have been like, how? So for me, the Eagles my favorite. Obviously, I'm an Eagles fan, but all the pieces they have coming back, coming off Super Bowl win, I had to put money on them. And Cincinnati Bengals, they're going to be a team that people might be sleeping on a little bit. And I like to hear your thoughts too. I mean, if you had to put your hard-earned money on someone, who's that team that you think is going to be the favorite, and who's that team that might be a little sneaky?
If I had to put my money on a team, I might have to agree with you there, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals. I just feel like they started out so slow
Hmm.
coming into the season. Their defense really didn't help them at all because they was putting up the numbers offensively. Joe Burrow had a career year. Jamar Chase had a career year. Even though they didn't have Joe Mixon anymore, they got something in Chase Brown until he went down. So I would love to see the Cincinnati Bengals as a sneak, but this is the one sneaky team that nobody's going to talk about, and I feel like they're due to get to the Super Bowl or get to a conference championship, and that is the Houston Texans. The
Okay,
Houston Texans is a team where you got a young CJ Stroud. I understand Stephon Diggs is a free agent. We don't know if he's going to re-sign with the Houston Texans, which I think he should for the young quarterback in CJ Stroud. But that defense was doing the business to the Kansas City Chiefs in that playoffs, and they got robbed for so many calls there. So if I want to go sleeper, I'm going Houston, Texas. But if I want to go like ceiling and go high ceiling, I'm gonna go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Now we all know the Philadelphia Eagles is
for
probably
sure.
the favorite to repeat, the Detroit Lions, stuff of that nature. If I want to talk about a team in the NFC, I wouldn't say they sneaky, but I think they will get a chance again, and that is the Los Angeles Rams. It really depends on Matthew Stafford, which we will get into that. But I think the Los Angeles Rams is a possibility. The Commanders are a possibility. Unfortunately, if you want to talk about sneaky teams, I think Texans, Cincinnati, and then NFC Rams and Commanders will be my sneaky teams.
Okay. No, I definitely like that. The Houston Texans, they definitely have a lot on the defensive side of the ball that I think is like when you look at D'Amico Ryans being the defensive mind that he is, playing a long time defensive player in the
Mm,
NFL,
right.
playing with my Philadelphia Eagles at one point. He like his what he did in his first year was unprecedented for coaches in the NFL, and I
Mhm.
think with all this experience he has and CJ Stroud's experience, I do believe that the Houston Texans could make a deep run in the playoffs, and they could have made it this year. They did suffer a few injuries that I think hurt
Mhm.
them, but
Yeah.
next year's a new year, and it's very possible.
Yeah, especially to the wide receiver core when Diggs went out for the rest of the year, to take Dell
Hmm.
again for the second year in a row. I think they're going to build off that and probably go harder in free agency to try to find them at least another. I mean, you got Schultz over there as a tight end
Yeah, I
for
believe
the
so. Yeah,
Texans. Yeah, I think Schultz is over there. So I think if you get like one more weapon for them or address the offensive line as well, because you got to keep him upright. You got to make sure he could get, be mobile, step up in the pocket. So I say the offensive line got to help too, because Joe Mixon was dinged up a lot too for them. So I feel like I think they have the complete team in the AFC. I mean, they are already in a weak division with the AFC South, and I think they could win that division again. In my opinion. So I think they'll be that sticky team that could possibly get to the Super Bowl coming out of the AFC.
for sure, for sure. I like that.
Absolutely. So speaking of Matthew Stafford, there's been a lot of rumors going around about him. They did say that he was able to seek a trade, but then in this trade, he asked it for 50 million a year in this trade. So we heard about the Giants, we heard about my Las Vegas Raiders, we heard about the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's so many teams in that top five that needs a quarterback, probably in the draft, but as of right now, we're just talking about free agency. So my question to you is this: is he worth 50 million a year? And if he is, what team is willing to, go and decide like, okay, I'm going to trade for Matthew Stafford to try to win now?
So to answer your question, I do not think he's worth 50 million a year right now. At a point in his career, I think he was. Like if you know that the market was what it is now, say 6, 7 years ago, then sure, I wouldn't mind giving him the type of money. But his age to me is what is so hard to get by, and you, he's not going to go to a team that's in rebuild mode. I don't see him personally going to a Giants, to a Raiders, to any of those teams that have high draft picks that can get a young quarterback in the draft.
Mhm.
I see him going to somewhere that can potentially be a contender if they do a little bit more in the draft or free agency, like a Pittsburgh Steelers. You have a few weapons on that team already. I like him to go to a Steelers, a team that, if you have a 30, whatever he is, 36, 38 year quarter,
Yeah.
8-year-old quarterback, you can still build around that guy and compete in the playoffs to where I just don't think the Giants or the Raiders or other teams that have higher draft picks are going to be able to compete. So when I think of Matthew Stafford, his age is the biggest thing to me. I don't think he's going to get that type of money. He still has 2 years left on this current contract. I believe
Mhm.
it's what it is, 2 years left.
Yeah.
So if he wants any sort of extension and get close to that type of money, it's going to have to be with a team that can win right now and can use him at the moment to make a deep playoff run, not a team that you want to get young players and build around, because he's not going to be around for that much. He's not going to be a guy that's going to be there for another 6, 7 years. He's going to be a guy that's going to be there for 2 to 3 years and see if you can win a Super Bowl with him, or at least compete for a Super Bowl title.
Yeah, I see some points in that, knowing that for my Las Vegas Raiders, I could vouch for them. I would love to get Matthew Stafford, but would I get him for $50 million? Absolutely not. I just wouldn't do it. I'll put him on a 2 year deal, probably a little bit less than 50, at least about between what he's getting 30 million a year or 35
Something
million a
like
year
that.
right now. So I'll keep it around that same range. I'm not giving
Mm-hmm.
him $50 million. I know Pete Carroll, he's in win now mode. He's going to be in free agency. And then on top of that, we have the second in the league when it comes to cap space.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go get a Matthew Stafford, well, me personally, I prefer a Sam Darnold or going in the Justin Fields over Matthew Stafford at this point. I want a young quarterback. I mean, knowing Stafford, not Stafford, but Sam Darnold, he's not mobile, but I prefer a Justin Fields over that. But the Giants, they not in win now mode. The Jets,
Mm-hmm.
they probably a quarterback away with all their weapons. And Aaron Rodgers was just not great overall with the Jets. I just think he was just toxic. So for me, the Pittsburgh Steelers make sense overall. Don't I'm saying to you now, Cleveland Browns fans, do not go after Matthew Stafford. That is just waiting to die for if you want to be find a quarterback with the Cleveland Browns. So overall, as I see it, I think the Steelers, possibly the Raiders, depending on what Pete Carroll wants to do. But it's slim to none for me. But I think the Jets will be the most fitting if they don't get a quarterback or trade out of their number 4 spot, if I'm not mistaken, in the draft. If they trade out of that spot, then I say go get Stafford, but don't pay him $50 million a year.
For sure. I have that almost the same exact order. I have the Steelers at 1, the Jets at 2, and the Raiders at 3. So pretty much exactly what you said. That's the only suitable spots. And then because he's not going to go to a team that's looking to rebuild. So I 100% agree with you there. And I just don't see him getting that $50 million a year type of contract, especially not at this age. There's just no way. And I think it's honestly just not smart for any team to give him that type of money if they even think about going anywhere close to that.
Yeah, because like I love Matthew Stafford. I love what he did in the playoffs. He got his team in the playoffs. They beat the number 1 team in the NFC, which was the Minnesota Vikings. I think it's number 2 seed, right? Because the Lions was
Uh,
number 1.
yeah, they were the top wild card seed, top
Yeah,
wild card
there
seed.
was a top wild card seed. So they
Mhm.
went on the road. They even though it was in Arizona because of everything was happening in LA, but still, like Matthew Stafford got to play against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, almost beat the
Yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles if certain things didn't go a certain way, or things just if it would have if they would have got the 4th down there.
Yeah.
And now with even just with the Rams in itself, you got Puka, not Puka, yeah, Puka Nacua is the number 1 receiver now. Cooper Kupp is seeking the trade as well. That's probably why Matthew Stafford is looking at other teams because at this point, if you don't get the $50 million, and this is my conspiracy theory, not really conspiracy theory, but like a scenario. If he doesn't get the $50 million, right? Just imagine if him and Cooper Cup could be a package deal in a trade. Instead of you getting the $50 million, take the 30 to 35 mil, add Cooper Cup to the trade, and then you get a 2-for-1. I see that. Now, if the Jets willing to do that with Matthew Stafford and Cooper Cup to go to the Jets for the number 4 overall pick, that moves the Rams all the way up to number 4 overall, and they could go get another need outside of a quarterback.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I didn't think about any of that sort of package yet, but I agree. If you can get something like a package, because that's not a small package there. That's you have a Super Bowl MVP in Cooper Cup and someone that has been doing it for so many years. If you can get that sort of package on a team like a Jets or even, I mean, a Steelers, I don't think they have a high enough draft pick to even get that type of combo.
Mhm.
But yeah, a Jets, I mean, you're losing Aaron Rodgers, you're getting your quarterback right back in Matthew Stafford, you're losing
Mhm.
your draft pick, But then you can also pair Cooper Cup with a guy like Garrett Wilson, and
Yeah,
who knows what's going on with Devontae Adams. I mean, I don't know where he's going to be, but even having Cooper Cup with Garrett Wilson and Matthew Stafford at quarterback, you're probably competing then for a division title, probably a deep playoff run, and who knows,
right.
maybe if things fall your way, you can be competing for a Super Bowl then at some point as well.
Agreed. I absolutely agree with that. But let's move on to the Green Bay Packers. I got something to say to them about this because if you it okay, we all know yesterday that it came out that the Green Bay Packers put in to ban the tush push. Now, I understand that the league is not a big fan of the tush push because they feel like they just can't stop it. But my thing is this. The tush push been around for years. Let's just be completely honest. It's just a quarterback sneak, but it's just getting a little bit more help as a defensive coordinator, you gotta get your guys prepared of the tush push. No, we seen it where the Eagles mixed it up, where they faked the tush push and they threw a pass down the field. We seen variations of the tush push, but the Green Bay Packers. I'm sorry. What are your reason of banning the tush push at this point? I just don't understand because y'all got killed against the Philadelphia Eagles in the playoffs, and y'all just couldn't stop them at all. They barely used the tush push against y'all. So I'm kind of confused on why the Green Bay Packers want to put this in. And you got y'all got a team. Y'all have a good team. Y'all can use the tush push. Anybody in the league can use it. So why you want to ban it? So I want to hear your thoughts about that because you're an Eagles fan and you heard about it. So I would like to hear your thoughts about this.
For sure. I mean, to me, I was actually surprised when I heard that it was the Packers because at first what came out like an anonymous source. Someone
Mm,
said that somebody put in something to ban the tush push, and it didn't come out right away. And then sources started talking, and it ended up being the Green Bay Packers. But honestly, the Packers were a team that they played the Eagles multiple times last season, and
mhm,
they stopped the tush push multiple times in week one of the season. So they actually stopped a 2 point conversion, and I
mhm.
forget if it was like a third down, fourth down. They stopped it multiple times. So they're one of the teams that was actually able to put some sort of stop to this play. So I was actually hoping that it was an NFC East team that came out and said it just so we can talk a little smack about it. Because to me that would have been funny. But like, look at they've been doing this like the actual tush push. I know there's quarterback sneaks, but the Eagles have been doing this since 2022, and 2022 they had a 90% success rate.
Mhm.
Teams started catching on. They had 88% success rate in 2023. Then this year they only had an 82%. So teams are getting used to trying to stop it. Obviously, it's still very successful. But what are you going to do? The Eagles have one of the biggest and strongest offensive lines in NFL history, like by height and weight. That's the majority of it. If they can just get that push, which they're built for that, other teams aren't built for that. And that's just something that the Eagles are using to their advantage. So I don't understand why you have to ban a play just because they're so much better than you at it. And they have the ability to do it because they're so much bigger and stronger. And you have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts who squats 600 pounds.
Right.
So if you want to take away the actual push, that's fine. But instead of getting full 2 yards, he might get 1.8 yards instead of just a full 2 yards if you stop the push.
But even though, like, say you could do so many variations with the tush push. You could
For
put
sure.
Saquon Barkley under center. You could put a wide receiver under center. Even if it's not even Jalen Hurts, you can play action out of a tush push and throw it to a tight end. We've seen fake punts. We've seen fake field goals get thrown for touchdowns. So it's possible for the Philadelphia Eagles to make so many variations of it. And now, I know this wasn't on the topics, but I do want to hear your thoughts about now, even though the tush push is still going to be there, but Kellen Moore is no longer
Okay.
your offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, and now is the head coach for the New Orleans Saints. He did take a few staff from your Philadelphia Eagles. I think it was the quarterback coordinator or something, the passing game coordinator, something of that nature, to come over there. And then the fact that he brought in Brandon Staley, he was the offensive coordinator for in the Chargers, and now is his defensive coordinator. What's your thoughts on him leaving and your new offensive coordinator now for the Philadelphia Eagles? Like, what's your thoughts on that whole thing and how that transpired?
For sure. I mean, I have utmost respect for Kellen Moore. Obviously, he gave my Philadelphia Eagles another Super Bowl. He was on that staff, so I have utmost respect for him. And go get your money. I mean, he's going out there. He wanted to be a head coach. I'm happy for him. He's a great guy. But for the Philadelphia Eagles standpoint, I'm okay with the hiring from inside. I wanted them to interview a few other guys outside of the building just to get a
Mm,
few more viewpoints on play calling, and more sit. Because now the Eagles have been doing the same thing this whole year, and it was almost unstoppable because they were a very dominant team.
Right.
Teams are going to see all that tape, and that's what they're going to practice. So the new offensive coordinator, he's been in the building. He's not going to have as many fresh ideas. I would have liked to bring someone in that had a little bit more fresh ideas. Someone that might someone I really liked was the quarterbacks coach for Baltimore. Baltimore T Martin. I wanted to
Oh
bring him
yeah,
in. I wanted to bring him in because he has guys like Lamar Jackson, a running quarterback, and he has guys like Derrick Henry, who that's pretty similar to Jalen Hurts and a Saquon Barkley. I wanted to bring in his different play style and bring it into the offense, but I am okay with the hire. And as long as they can mix stuff up and have fresh ideas on offense and not running an identical offense as last year, I'm 100% okay with it. And I have full trust in Nick Sirianni to be able to do that.
I think Nick Sirianni is going to help out with the play calling this year, in my personal opinion. I know that he was always an offensive minded coach, especially when he was with the Indianapolis Colts, a few other teams as well. So I think he's going to help this offensive coordinator out with your philosophy. We all know that it got to evolve around Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. That's what the league's going to have to defend for the next couple of years for the NFC and the NFL in itself. But I think it was good riddance for Kellen Moore because he's been trying to find a head coaching job for a while now.
Yep,
And people thought that he was to blame in Dallas, which he wasn't to blame. It showed this year that he wasn't to blame. Actually, their offense was actually better when Kellen Moore was there. Same thing for the Los Angeles Chargers. It kind of elevated Justin Herbert as well, which I don't like talking about the Chargers because I'm a Raiders fan, but I respect it at the end of the day. So Kellen Moore, coming in and now being a Saints head coach and see what he's going to do as quarterback position when it comes to uh, Derek Carr and stuff of that nature. So he got a lot to look forward to. But I thought it was pretty interesting to ask you that question when it came to that situation.
for sure.
So next thing here that we have is the matter of fact, we could just talk about it. We already had it up there about Mel Kiper surprise teams for Shador Sanders. Now, it's been linked to like Shador Sanders want the Raiders to move up for him. We have the
Hmm.
sixth overall pick. It's been rumors that the Raiders try to trade up to the number one overall pick. We heard the Jets, we heard the Giants, we heard so many teams in that top five between Cam Ward and Shador Sanders when it comes to this draft. Um, Out of those teams, what would be your thoughts on where Shador Sanders go and where would be the best fit for him as of right now? Until because the combine is this weekend, so
For sure.
what would be your thoughts on Shador Sanders?
Obviously, everything's going to change once the combine starts up. Guys are going to drop in the draft. Guys are going to move up from a really good combine. But Shador Sanders, to me, is a guy. I think he's going to drop a little bit in the draft. I don't think the Raiders are even going to have to move up in order to draft him because I already did on my channel. I actually did a top 10 picks, and I have him going number 6 to the Raiders. I think that the Browns are going to take the best available, and they're going to take Abdul Carter at that time. To me, Abdul Carter is the best defensive player in this draft. I know you have guys like Travis Hunter, who's also there for corner and wide receiver, but
Right,
I see him falling to them to the fact of it's going to be Abdul Carter at number 2. Number 3, I have Travis Hunter going to the Giants to where I think they can use him on defense and offense, take some pressure off a guy like Malik Neighbors on the offensive side who got hurt a few times because he was the only player they really had on their offense.
right,
So I really see Travis Hunter going there. And then you look at picks 4 and 5, which is, I believe, the Patriots and then the Jaguars. Neither of those teams need a quarterback at the moment. So the
right.
way I see the draft panning out, I see Shador Sanders being able to drop to the Raiders. Raiders not even having to trade up at all to get a guy like Shador Sanders.
Oh, interesting here. Okay, okay, because like now, if I felt like if Shador Sanders didn't fall, I feel like I don't know if you feel about this, but I feel like if Shador Sanders doesn't fall to us, I think it's three options for me as a Raiders fan: Mason Graham out of
Hmm.
Michigan, Will Johnson, the corner out of Michigan, and quarterback Jackson Dart.
Okay.
So and that's only if we don't trade up or
Hmm.
Shador Sanders doesn't fall to us. I think that'll be our best three options there.
For sure, yeah. Jackson Dart's a guy that's a little bit tricky for me. I do have him if something happens that Shador Sanders does not drop to number 6 and they pick whoever's the best available at that time, I can see a guy like Jackson Dart still being around towards the end of that first round, early second round type of pick. And
Okay.
that's where I could see him going to a team like the Raiders or a Giants or Browns in that early second round if nobody takes him and if they don't take Shador Sanders for themselves early in that draft.
Okay. I just wanted to get your thoughts on
Yeah, for sure.
the Shador Sanders, but as far as the NFL Combine, we know the draft is coming up in April. We know all that happening here, but we all know like the Anshan Gentis, all the quarterbacks, and the Scatterboo from Arizona State is getting a lot of notoriety. So who would be somebody in the draft to look at that's not getting as much popularity going into the combine or going into the draft? What players do you have, not even ranked, but just like a list of players that we definitely need to watch for going into the scouting combine and the NFL draft?
So I have one player here that I really think is going to be I think his ceiling for the highest could be a late first round pick, but right now in a lot of mock drafts he's going mid third round right now. Mid third round is where he's sitting. Quarterback Kyle McCord out of Syracuse.
I
Quarterback,
did that on my channel. Oh,
did
Kyle
you?
McCord is yeah on my Las Vegas Raiders syndicate channel, and I said Kyle McCord is going to be a guy that's going to probably rise
Mm-hmm.
in this draft process. I said that, so we on the same page here.
Okay. Yeah, Kyle McCord, I've watched him so much. I'm a Clemson fan, ACC guy, so I've watched him at Syracuse, especially last season. And he did nothing but lead the entire NCAA in passing yards. He had a great season. His last 2 games in the year, if you look, he had a combined 800 passing yards, 8 pass touchdowns, and no interceptions. His last 2 games in college against Miami and Washington State, 800 yards, 8 touchdowns, no picks. So I look at Kyle McCord coming from Ohio State and Syracuse, coming to this draft as a mid third round pick. I could see him going to, if the Rams move on for Matt Stafford, his absolute ceiling I can see being picked around 26 to the Rams. But then I really see him early second round picks to teams like the Giants, the Browns, the Raiders, and possibly even the Steelers if they don't get their guys. But that's my guy. Kyle McCord, I'm so high on him. I had McMillan, but I don't like doing first round picks. So, he's going to probably be a mid to late first round pick. I can
Yeah.
see him sneaking into the top 10. Some drafts I did see him in the top 10. Other drafts I see him right around mid to late first round. But McMillan, I think, is hands down the best wide receiver. I think he's a better wide receiver than Travis Hunter is. Hunter all around is a better player. But when you're talking about pure wide receiver, McMillan is a guy that if you see a team like the Panthers sitting up there at pick number like 7, 8, whatever they are, I can see them going for a guy like McMillan out of Arizona.
Now, I have a guy that a lot of people are not talking about when it comes to the wide receiver position. I think he's good. He's not going to be his first or second round pick. He might be third or fourth. And that's Nick Nash out of San Jose
Okay.
State. Now, Nick Nash, like he's 6'3, 195. He has 104 receptions for 1,382 yards and 16 touchdowns. Now, San Jose State, they're not a good football team, but he led, most of college football in receiving for the first 10 weeks until he got hurt. But it was like a little minor injury that set him out for like 1 week. But Nick Nash is definitely a guy that I like to see in the combine and see, in his pro day as well and improve. Another guy that I like is Devin Neal, running back out of Kansas. I talked about him on my channel as well, where he almost had 4,000 rushing yards on the ground. Only thing is he's a little bit on a smaller end, but he's definitely efficient. He definitely can make defenders miss, creating big plays. I did watch the Big 12 a lot when it came to college football this year, and he definitely stood out to me outside of him and Scatterboo and the other I think forgot the guy's name from Texas. The running back from Texas, he's just as good too.
Oh,
Definitely
Blue.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, him.
So he's definitely good, but it's some definitely some gems you gotta look at going into this scouting combine. You really do. Jay Higgins out of Iowa, another one. One thing about Iowa linebackers, I'm telling you that right now. Anybody that comes out of Iowa on the defensive side of the ball, you go get them.
For sure,
I
yeah.
mean, Cooper DeJean. I'm just being honest with you. If you're on the defensive side of the ball and you're a tight end, and you go to University of Iowa, you go get them because they're gems. But Jay Higgins, he's a monster. He's a little bit undersized as an offside linebacker, but still, I still think he's a great tackling machine. He got a few interceptions this year. I like those. I like these 3 guys that I have. As far as underrated, I wouldn't say they I would say Jay Higgins 2nd round, Devin Neal between the end of the 2nd going into the 3rd. Uh, Nick Nash, I probably say end of the 3rd going into the 4th, depending on what the need is. Especially a lot of teams probably gonna need receivers, depending on what free agency is gonna look like. So this is all speculating as of right now because free agency is next month. The draft is in April. So this is all pre-draft and pre-free agency stuff, y'all. So don't quote us on this right now.
Yeah, this could be drastically different after this combine's over. Anything can happen in this combine. So get guys are going to fly up that list. Guys are going to hurt themselves and move all the way down that list. It's just the way the combine works, and I'm super excited to watch it.
And speaking of the combine, I know this wasn't a topic, but we still got a few more minutes. How do you feel about a lot of these quarterbacks sitting out, or a lot of these players sitting out during the scouting combine? Do you feel like if they get invited to the combine and they understand you want to do interviews, but the GMs and the scouts wants to see you throw the football or participate in the scouting combine. What are your thoughts of them sitting out? Do they really hurt their stock by doing that?
I don't think they hurt their stock. I think if you're a top player already in this combine, I don't think you have to prove too much more because you have 4 years of tape. If you're a 4-year starter, you have 4 years of tape to look at. I mean, I know the combine gets your to a T, your speed, your how high you can jump, all your athletic abilities. But to me, the biggest thing in college football going to the NFL is that you have so much tape to look at. And if you want to know how good a player truly is, throw in that tape, see how fast he flies across that field if you're on defense, see if he makes his blocks on offense. If you're a receiver, can you also block? Can you do this and that? So to me, I'm okay with them sitting out. I mean, for guys that are at the end of the first round, second round type of picks, yeah, you have to go in there and do that because you want to be a higher pick. You want to get that big signing bonus. But
Right.
guys that are going to be at the top of the board, I'm okay with it. Just go through your interviews, do certain things in the combine, perform at your pro day if you want. But I'm okay with the top notch guys sitting out, in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, I kind of felt like sometimes, like I'm like certain players needs to. For
Hmm.
me, I feel like Anshan Genti needs to because from even though he did have a almost 100 yards in the bowl game, I still felt
Hmm.
like he was shut down. I still felt like it was garbage time when he got those yards. Penn State was already up big against them, and I feel like for that, yeah, I say do a few drills, like run your 40 or whatever. It shows something. You don't have to be in every drill. I say do it like 2 or 3 drills and then be like, okay, I'm done. That's it. You don't got to go through every drill like everybody else have to do. Just go through a few, just do 2 or 3, then do some interviews, and then just get prepared for your pro day. I think that's the way you should go because getting invited and just doing interviews and players are coming to see you, I just feel like it does a disjustice to the fans that's going to be there, the scouts going to be there, the GMs is going to be there. I just feel like it do justice where you could have players come in that wants to participate and actually show off their skills and they don't get invited. So I just think it's 50-50 with me, but at the same time, I kind of understand your point as well.
No, yeah, for sure. If I was someone that was sitting out that just missed an invite, and you hear that there's 5, 6, 7 guys that aren't even going to perform, but you didn't get invited, and you really want to show off, like I understand that point of view as well. Like you have guys down there that want to compete and try to improve their draft stock to try to be even a fifth round talent because you're sitting right at that seventh round or maybe even undrafted. So I completely understand that as well. Um, I just think that there's so much college tape that you can look at and to where just running a 40-yard dash or doing bench press or your vert, like that's stuff that's not going to translate as much as to just put on the pads and go hit somebody.
Right. Right. I just want to like for me, for Ashan Jitsi, I want to see, how
Hmm.
explosive he is, how elusive he is,
For
do some
sure.
running back drills. But as far as like the broad jump and all that, I don't care about that. I want to see
Yeah,
him with the football in his hand. So hopefully I get to see Scatterboo this weekend.
for
But
sure.
yeah, I love Scatterboo. I loved him when I watched him all year. I thought he had a better outing in his bowl game versus Texas and Alshon Jitsi. I thought it would have brought his draft
Hmm.
stock up a little bit more. But hey, Scatterboo's going to come in and he reminds me of another Josh Jacobs type of player. Like that's what he reminds me of. Genty does too, but I feel like Scatterboo could catch the ball at the backfield a little bit more than Genty. But hey, we will definitely see there.
For sure.
So my question to you is this: what made you, start getting into, podcasting, getting a YouTube channel? Because it's really rough. It's a tough industry to be in. And I usually ask all my, people that I collab with, like, what was your purpose and what was your why into getting into this industry and getting into the podcasting and getting into YouTube?
For sure. I mean, I'm someone that I love talking sports. Like I also talk baseball, I talk basketball, but my main like my knowledge, I've been playing fantasy football since I was like 10 years old. So I've been like my knowledge for fantasy football has been through the roof. And then, you add in just the history of the NFL, the history of college football. So I just have such a love for NFL and college football in general
Mhm.
that I'm like, I ramble to my fiance sometimes, and she's like, one day she's like, you know what, you should just start a podcast because she doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about sometimes. So,
That's
so
that's
I
funny.
just
Both our names are Darian. We're both, we both engaged, and now we have wives that say, "Oh, you need to start a podcast."
for sure, yeah. They're like, hey, they don't want to hear it no more. They don't know what I'm talking about, so why not just talk to the camera, and hopefully someone else out there enjoys me talking to the camera. So that's pretty
Absolutely.
much that's what I do it for, and I enjoy doing it. So I wouldn't change it.
Same here. I started in 2016, doing play by play a little bit. I did a little bit of play by play of almost everything that when it came to sports, I did it. So, um, did that, and then I started veering off to women's basketball, college football. I started following a lot of that stuff, and just let you know, just giving you some advice. It's going to be tough.
Oh
Just
yeah, for
don't
sure.
just don't give up. It's been times that I if you got to take a break, take a break. Sometimes the grind can be overwhelming knowing you got a fiance, you got a job, stuff of that nature. So just some advice because me, I overwhelmed myself so much early in my early years, it kind of burnt me out now. See, I'll be 39. Well, I don't look it, but I'll be 39 on Sunday. So trust me, take as much time as you need. Just put out the quality content and consistency is key. If it got to be one video a day, or you skip a day and do one video, skip a day, do another video, do it that way. So it's just giving you some, some motivation, some inspiration, just some advice coming into this industry because it can really be rough. So, it's good though. It's good though.
For sure, I definitely appreciate that. I've heard a lot of stories that it's definitely a tough thing to do because you're going to hear criticism. You're gonna have videos that don't get a ton of views, and there's always going to be people with their opinions. And at the end of the day, it don't matter. I'm doing it for fun. You're doing it for fun. You enjoy
Right.
doing it, so that's all that really matters to me.
So Darian, just let everyone know where they can find you at social media, YouTube channel. Cause I'm gonna have all the links in the description, but let the people know where they can find you at.
I appreciate it. On YouTube, it's First Down Focus with Darian Mogul. I also have an Instagram that I just started posting on. Instagram, same thing, First Down Focus. Then I also been posting a little bit on TikTok, some clips from different segments that I've been doing, posting on TikTok, First Down Focus as well there. And then on X as well. I was about to say Twitter, but it's now X. So so on X as well, First Down Focus. Everything is just First Down Focus. Just create a lot of the sites. So I appreciate anyone that can go out there and hit that subscribe button, watch my videos, like them. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. But there you have it, guys. We're back with the DH Impact Media podcast. So we're gonna be doing these once a week as well. So having different people up here and talk about their journey, talk sports, have fun doing it as well. Like I said, you can follow him on First Down Focus on all social media platforms. The links will be in the description. And you can follow me on social media at DH Impact Media, all social media platforms, TikTok, Twitter, X, Instagram, YouTube, anything of that nature. Facebook is I gotta wait another 30 days to change my name on there. So it's going to be facebook.com/DH Impact Media. Thank y'all so much for tuning in and watching a great podcast. This will be on all audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it, is going to be all over there as well. So make sure y'all tune in, and I will see y'all next week, same time, same place, and have a blessed day, y'all.
Thank you.